Meme Ranch.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no one wants to touch that. It's there's a lot of comedians out there who are thinking, should I touch that one? Should I go for the impression? And then they're like, no, it's a health condition. But a lot of guys out there have thought about it.
My favorite are the physicians out there that are trying to like diagnose like what they would do to him. Like they're like,
Oh my God, I have not.
Yeah,
seen
they're like say like how I would
like,
how I would treat RFK Jr.
Of course, because for anything, there's the experts. We were just talking about this YouTube. You gotta love the experts in the comments, because if you're an expert on a field, one of the things you do in your day is comment. That's what
Speaking of comments, I have a comment to make here on the Meme Ranch. I'd like to introduce everyone in the room out there, the large internet room, to Griffin of Choom Room, also executive producer on the popular political show Breaking Points, is here with us live on Meme Ranch, here with me in XVALA.
Yo, live from the Meme Ranch.
Happy to be here. Excited to be here. Excited to be at the ranch. It's got a great setup here. I love this, and I'm excited. You guys, I've watched a video or two. You guys are great at interviewing, and I'm excited. I love to talk to my rightoid friends here. I love you guys. You both got the sunglasses on. Should I get sunglasses?
Go for it.
I think if you have them like anywhere within like 50 feet of you, like
here we go.
Put them on.
For it. We're meme ranched.
Wait,
circles.
Now, I used to wear these when I Twitch streamed because the lights were very bright, and when you're staring at the monitors for that long. So that's your excuse too, right?
No.
You're in a basement. You're in a dark room. I'm taking them off.
It's part of the vibe. We've actually done this. I've worn glasses in podcasting since 2020. So
yeah,
it's also just kind of part of my thing, I think.
Who invented it? Who invented sunglasses and streaming?
It's definitely you guys are conservatives, right?
No, I'm right wing.
Right wing. What's the difference?
Yeah. You take conservatives. Okay, that's a question I have for you. Not to not answer your question, but that was an intro. You did an intro on episode 1 of your show, Choom Room.
Yeah.
Where you said that the country is so divided. The left is, what did you say? The left is...
America's divided. Everybody's so far on the left. Everybody's so far on the right. There's a new way of doing things.
Do you remember what your interest? You're saying the left is something and the right is something, but I think it's more like the Elon Musk meme, where it talks about the left. The left wingers have been left in the dust by the progressives. Like, it's not that the right or the conservatives have divided the nation. It's that the left has divided and is dividing the nation. So I guess to answer your question, it's like, that's how I'd position myself. I've always been more of the middle of the road.
For sure.
And everything's gone crazy off the cliff to the left.
So you feel like, you've been moved over, but you still feel like you're at the center.
I do. Yeah. Right. I don't really change at all my whole life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's what, but one of the things I was saying, going back to the sunglasses, is it is a classic conservative visual icon. The sunglasses, how many lefties do you see wear the sunglasses on stream? I can't think of one.
I'm sure Hassan will start soon now.
Yeah, she should. Yeah, I think that should be good. I mean,
I
used to do it.
He should co-opt that as well, because he's co-opted.
I know. I mean, I think it's great. I mean, I used to do it because I would smoke a ton of weed right before the stream. And then, like, if I'm talking about politics, like, and my eyes are like barely open, like, I mean, certain people like that, but so the sunglasses help there. I don't know if that's what you guys do, but I mean, it worked.
I think that to your point, I think pit vipers were the things that always had like the right wing like association. I think that anyone wearing glasses in a stream is usually someone who is probably trying to, not necessarily like they're working like a day job, night job kind of thing. It's like, maybe they have bags under their eyes, like for whatever reason, people, turn on the lamp in the back, and like, boom, it looks like, you're out sunbathing. You're like, oh, kind of, like, oh, like.
I like it. I like it, and I get why people do it. But back to your original question about the show.
Where'd the concept come for the name? I looked at the name, and it has a cyberpunk connection. It has a Korean connection.
Yes.
And then you played it sounded like Asian theme music when you introduced the show, so I wasn't sure if that was the connection. Or
well, this is a long-term. There's a long-term arc to the show, and there is like a long-term, story planned around certain elements that involve China. That's really all I can say right now at this point. Okay. But in terms of the origin of the name, when I think I was like 17 or 18, I discovered that Barack Obama used to smoke weed with his friends in Hawaii, and they called it the Choom Gang. That term caught on with my friends, and we would have circles where we would, call it the Choom or whatever, where we'd smoke a lot of weed and talk and joke around. And I feel like that word kind of just stuck around, and then I turned it into my Twitch stream during the pandemic. And I called it Choom Room, and I streamed like 7 nights a week during the pandemic just to like stay sane. And I talked a lot about politics, talked a lot about my perspective on them. It was pretty fun. We had a lot of, like, I think, sincere stuff that you probably don't see on the new show. And then a lot of joke stuff, a lot of characters. And I would say my main inspirations are things I guess we're trying to riff on right now, are shows like, Real Time with Bill Maher. I would say Ellen is a big inspiration. The View is a big inspiration. Generally like those sort of like,
Ellen, you?
Well, my character that I'm playing on the show is heavily inspired by Ellen, because what I love about Ellen is she never looks like she's having fun.
No,
she always looks like she's like in pain, and that she despises everyone else, and that just doing the show is like a torture for her. I love that about Ellen.
That might be a reality.
There's also like, isn't there like this meme that like Ellen has like these like dark, like demented, like images, like artwork, like on the walls of her home or something like that? And like,
I'm not familiar. I would believe it. I spent some time in LA, and I've heard stories of people who have had to work on, productions with her, things about not making eye contact, or rumors I've heard, kind of like basic Devil Wears Prada bullshit. But yeah, I just always loved her sort of unsettling energy on Ellen. So that was an inspiration. But I think Bill Maher is probably the biggest, because Bill is kind of like a guy who, like, when I was a lot younger, I was really into, because he was a guy who kind of tells it like it is. And it wasn't as polished and as like prepped as like what you would see on the news. But it was news and politics, but from more of like I'm going to say it, everyone's thinking it, I'm making a joke about it kind of way. But as I've grown older, I've realized how stupid he is. And just
good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad.
But he's gotten better. He's
gotten more to the right for sure.
Don't you think that is more grift than anything?
What?
I hate that word, but I feel like, I don't want to say I feel like, it seems that his content has shifted more recently due to the fact that the politics are shifting in America. There seems to be that he's got his thumb in the air to feel which way the wind's blowing. I kind of get that sense.
Bill
Maher.
Are you talking about like how he's like so willing to like confront like
his takes now are more based or more right wing, and less I don't know, trying to win over the favor of the media.
Yeah, I can't think of a single issue that Bill is on the left on currently, except maybe like, I guess, some climate change stuff. I think that like in many ways he is shifted over to the right. But it also, what I love about Bill, outside of I think the political boxes we're trying to put him in, is he just doesn't read the news anymore. He really doesn't know what he's talking about. It's clear he shows up, he's like, what happened this week? Okay. Like, you know, like his level of like understanding stuff is at an all-time low. And you know, his jokes are what I would say, even though he's gotten more conservative in what he's complaining about, I would say he still tells jokes like a liberal, which is like clapter, which is like jokes that you agree with but aren't funny.
Oh yeah, I like that.
And so I think that is, you know, I think that's typically what the liberal style of joke is.
What's your craziest story from Los Angeles? Did you consider yourself conservative while you were in Los Angeles?
So I'm a socialist. I'm a lefty.
Okay.
You know, certain people do assume that I am a Republican or conservative off the bat. You know,
you give off hella Republican vibes, man. Like,
yeah,
I'm just saying,
I know. I look like I came from money. I look like I complained to like the hotel staff. It's like, it's terrible. Like I look very, and like the sunglasses. I mean, look at my hat. I mean, I wore this for you guys.
What does it say?
Live free or die. We got a bald eagle on it. That was my most
beautiful.
I got a MAGA hat somewhere, but that was for sketches.
I love that. I love that hat. So anyway, so you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a lefty. I'm a socialist. Yeah, I think my vibe that I give off has been a lot of my ability to talk to conservatives and to relate to other people that don't think the way that I do. Because, you know, when I would do my Twitch streams, I would say half my audience was probably conservative.
Right.
Because I feel like I wasn't very condescending to them. And I think that's key.
Do you feel like you're the real Tim Pool? Like, do you feel like that like whatever he says he is like what is like, because like, you know, he says he's like a disaffected liberal.
Do I have a beanie?
Yeah, do you have the beanie?
He really is a Tim Pool.
I got one somewhere.
Here, I
don't know. I think like I have too much hair, but
there you go.
We're swapping beanies now.
It's beanie time.
So he does kind of a lip label one, right? He wears his like a real nerd, like not like a cool snowboarder. Like his is tight on him, right? Yeah.
See, is Tim not a perfect example though of like that example? Basically, what XVALA was getting at earlier about Elon, you know, about like, you know, like being like feeling like he's stationary, but like in actuality, I feel like Tim is probably like the most partisan conservative like in that whole like bubble, you know. Like, I mean, he definitely has like that slant, but he maintains his status as sort of like a unicorn because he calls himself a disaffected liberal.
So the character that I'm doing on Choom Room currently is someone that claims to be, you know, right in the middle, but every gripe I have is typically something you would hear from the right. That's personally how I feel about Tim Pool. Like, I don't remember the last time that Tim Pool grilled someone on like a left-wing issue, right? I feel like it's all about focus. So if he really was in the middle, I'd hear more lefty stuff from him. Maybe he is. I don't watch his show every day, so I can't judge him. I just, from the tweets that I see, the focuses that he focuses on. But I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, like spending a lot of energy on like labeling people probably isn't like the most productive thing to do. But for big figures like Tim, it's kind of fun to make fun of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, give me a good story from when you were in Los Angeles and you were I guess studying media, right?
At school. I'm from LA. I went to film school in New York, and then I dropped out.
I thought you told me for some reason. I'm sorry.
We've just met. I don't even.
Because I did research and Kaylin and I talked, and I think somehow UCLA came up. My bad.
I'm expecting a tour of the ranch after this, so I want to learn a lot about you.
All right.
But at LA, I went to film school.
Yes.
Lived in Austin for about 6 years, and I worked
Okay.
in film and TV out there. And then I was in LA, and then recently I've moved to DC for the Breaking Points job.
What's the community like in real life? You know, do you find people who are more like you? How do you meet people who are more like you? As far as like, because you're a very approachable person, but a lot of the people I know who are more in your political situation aren't as approachable. So like, how do you fit into that?
I actually will fully agree with you on that one. And I actually think that's the greatest criticism of people on my side right now, is that they're
Mhm.
shitty to talk to, even though they're right on a lot of stuff I agree with. They're I guess a lot of the loudest voices are bad defenders or bad advocates or whatever. And then I think they're also scared to engage because I feel like they don't want to get the stink on them, for whatever. That's kind of the vibe over on that side. I have noticed that the right, if I'd like to extend an olive branch to people maybe who are conservative listening to the show, is they are much more willing to engage with other people. I don't know if it's because they've gotten banned more or what. They're just like, they're ready to go, and I do respect that about them.
Well, because I've spent a lot of time, like I know you're from LA. I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles as an artist.
Cool.
And I found that it was very hard for me in social situations to sort of avoid certain topics because it's like it's conversation in Los Angeles in the creative community is very directed. And it's you may or may not agree with that, but it's what my own personal experience. And so it's hard for me to like not join in on bashing certain things and like just praising certain other things. So it was hard for me to ever find a real friendly fit socially.
That was a very thoughtful question, and then his camera started tracking him, and I was like, "Holy shit, what is going on?" Like that was a lot. But you did ask a very thoughtful question.
Right.
So I'll agree with you again, but I also want to really preface this by saying I am probably the most left wing person that you guys will have on this show in a long time.
No.
And
I want a lot of people like that.
Huh?
I want to have a lot of people like that.
That's good.
Yeah, we're aiming for further left. So actually,
you guys are nice interviewers and good interviewers, so I think you'll have more success than other people with that, because I think you guys ask interesting questions. But I would agree with you again, even though that I'm very from the left, that I think that liberals have definitely in cities like LA instituted a very intense atmosphere. I think that atmosphere is waning. Things don't last forever. Things come in waves and phases. But like, I'll give you an anecdote. I was in a massive comedy community Facebook group in LA, and the owner of the theater and like one of the owners of the page literally wrote one night, "If you guys don't vote for Kamala Harris as the first Black VP, you're not welcome at the theater."
Yep.
That's literally what someone said. And I don't want to make propaganda. That's a pretty crazy thing. And he got trolled for that. And I would like to say, I think the majority of the theater thought that was bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
But you will see people like that.
Mm-hmm.
the president himself.
Yeah. The theater was owned by Joe Biden. Yeah. And so it made sense. It would have been weird if he hadn't said something. Yeah. No. But and I would like to defend the rest of the people of the theater. Most people thought that was pretty fucking cringe, but you will find those elements in LA. But I wouldn't describe those as like left. I would describe those as like liberal. Like I think those are the libs. The people that say vote blue no matter who. That we had to elect Kamala because it was historic, not because she's talented.
They are pretty much like
that's my critique from the left. That's me. Over here.
Right.
Not into what I view as centrist politics with Democrats like Joe Biden and Kamala.
So I think there's a lot of agreement nowadays between the right and the left, more so than there have been in like the last few years or so. Because I feel like there's, for one thing, I think like, for example, we're talking about liberals. I feel like liberals and like neocons, like whatever those two concepts are, they share a very like broad Venn diagram together. And I get the sense that like a lot of like more fundamentalist, like whether your fundamentalist values are on the left or the right, if you have some sort of like reasonable like disagreement with like the views of like neocons or like liberals of like the past, like there's certain things that you can find yourself on the same page with if you just cut through if you just find some sort of like common ground on your
100%.
similar disagreements, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I think when people do disagree, I think it's because a lot of times they've been like hoodwinked long term into certain like arguments that have framed their thinking rather than like sincere disagreements. But yeah, I agree with all that certainly. But yeah, I think that, you know, for a large portion of the culture that drives, you know, the news and everything else, it's liberals and it's, you know, conservatives, I guess, who I guess to say liberals and neocons, and then there's the MAGA strain. And then, you know, I've started to meet a lot of Republicans at my new job, and they're not MAGA and they're not neocons. There's some like weird little third thing, but so there's kind of three strains happening over there on the right. And then the left has got kind of this like nascent, non-existent left, which I consider myself a part of, real leftism, and then liberals. And I feel like there's kind of two camps there. But I don't fundamentally believe that like true leftism is in power in this country in almost any way. I feel like Joe Biden is a very center-right president. You know, aside from maybe a few social values that people disagree with him on, I don't think he's brought socialism to America. I don't think he's brought major left-wing policies to America. You know, I think he's done some good infrastructure stuff. I think that was decent. I like his CHIPS bill. But, you know, I guess I push back about feeling like the country is like full left wing now. You know, putting, you know, what you see on the cover of a magazine doesn't really necessarily mean the same thing as like how the country's run, if that makes sense.
I have a quick follow up on that too, just to weave it back into your show, Choom Room. I mean, you have co-host of the show, Max, problematic gay Republican.
Yes, that's one of his characters. He plays a different character every show.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He does exactly. That's my favorite character of his.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So I have on his question. I mean, he plays that character very well. How much of it does he agree with? Is he an actual like foil or heel to your political position? Or are you guys more on the same page?
No, I think that Max is like the core comedy of the show. You know, I've been working with Max for years. I met him at an open mic sketch night, you know, a long time ago, and we've been, you know, doing stuff together for a long time. You know, I would say that I'm probably the one who's the annoying political one. And he's the one that brings the funny. I think that brings that core juice that I think the show would need. Or it might just get a little too dry and shitty if it was just me by myself. But I've always loved Max. Max does a large variety of characters. They're not necessarily all political. He does stuff at UCB and the Groundlings in LA. He does a lot of live sketch shows out there. If anyone's listening is Los Angeles, go check out Max Hawksford at UCB. He's doing shows usually weekly there. He's so funny. But he started to dip into some political characters on TikTok. He started doing problematic gay Republican, which I guess is sort of like if Christian Walker was like, I'd say like maybe 40 to 50% dumber, like like just like trying to like do bad jokes on purpose, you know. And you know, he has gone viral so many times with that character on TikTok, and TikTok's banned his account like 3 times. So it's hard to do a conservative character right now, guys.
It is.
Well, speaking of hard to do things for conservative characters, I also want to know, you know, being part of the Breaking Points operation. I mean, everyone knows, it's no secret, Saagar is, you know, like a you know, staunch, you know, sort of conservative, you know, has had those viewpoints for a long time.
Yeah, it's the whole
and
value
you know,
of the show.
it's the whole value of his dynamic between him and Krystal. Yeah. And I got to know a little bit, you know, like what's it like, you know, when it comes down to like everyone's views on the show, does it appear like most producers, most people who work on the show, like what's the dynamic? Like, is he sort of the leading conservative voice? Are there any other people that you guys work with who are kind of, you know, also conservative?
So the team is so small. It's literally me, Krystal, Saagar, and our other producer Mac, who literally he hasn't even finished his senior year of fucking college. He still has credits he has to complete.
Good gig. Wow,
Yeah.
lucky him.
Yeah, check him out on Twitter. Good politic guy. If you want to see some leftist cringe, no, I love Mac, but yeah, if he's fucking imagine getting this job out of college. I mean, if you get out of college, you're like, I guess I'll be a bar back at a fucking restaurant.
You're in DC, right? Or Virginia, or where are you?
I'm in DC. Yeah, I'm in
You're
DC.
Galen,
Yeah.
you guys should meet up.
Yeah, that's what we were both thinking.
Hey, I'm always down to get a drink. But so we do work with a lot of other conservative voices. I mean, Emily Jashinsky is also she's on our Wednesday show, Counterpoints, and she does a lot of stuff at the Federalist. She's a rightoid, she's our little fascist. I'm kidding. I love Emily. She's really smart. And I love meeting people like Emily and Saagar and getting to know how they think because, it's interesting to see different perspectives that aren't the cartoonish ones that you would see online. That's nice.
Who's the most cartoonish rightoid, and why is it not Tom Fitton?
Oh my god! I love Tom. He was like, my last name is Fitton, so like all of my fits have to be bursting. Just like, that's a great fucking look.
Yeah,
he's getting so laid, he's just like, and especially because he's been reporting for a long time, and a lot of his articles will also just feature pictures of him jacked as hell.
He gets quoted in Reuters still. It's incredible.
Yeah. I love characters like that. He's so good. I would do it. I don't have the bod, but I would do him if I could.
He's more about the attitude though. You don't have to. Yeah. If you can pull off the attitude.
Right. It is. That's so true. And I don't think I could. Who could? Who can other than Tom? But I think that, the team is really small. It's really just us four. And, there's a lot of issues right now that I think we agree on whatever new faction they're trying to build over on the right, with Saagar's stuff. And then with lefties on things like Ukraine. I think that there's a lot of agreement there. I think there's a lot of agreement just on the analysis of the horse race of 2024, how we kind of feel it's really all going to shake out. None of us are in denial that we probably think it's going to be Trump and Biden. We're not, I think there's stuff like that we're in agreement on. We haven't, at least I've only been working there 6 months. We haven't really hit those moments that are harder to handle in the news. For instance, BLM, when the riots immediately start, how do we handle that, as a thing? I think they've done it really well in the past, but I think those are the real moments where you're where you have to be okay with vehemently disagreeing about something else and still feeling like it's valuable to put it out, as long as you have that counterbalance from the other person.
So you're saying you feel like you in the months that you've been there so far,
it's been kind of easy right now.
You haven't had that test.
Yeah, most of the stuff we're reporting on, we agree on it. Epstein and JP Morgan, fucking Ukraine, right. These are issues that I think a lot of people agree on that just aren't getting reported that much.
Yeah, I think that as we sort of as we've seen outlets like Daily Beast become the next punch bowl or whatever you want to call it, as we see all these sort of places become more and more read by people who sort of grew up on New York Times, when they sort of branch out to these other outlets, you're finding a little bit more open room, open season for all types of peoples. Like there's like a whole rich market of like leftists who like love reading conservative news because it's just fun to like laugh at and, you know, like look at Donald Trump's like woes and stuff like that. And then you also have like, you know, people who like conservatives who like fetishize it, like the the thought of Tim Pool like being like a liberal, but like, oh, here's a conservative idea that like that he agrees with me on. You know, it's
they think he's a liberal. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Tim Pool. I feel like he like appeals to people because it's like
they think he's a liberal.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, it means I'm not crazy. Like it means I'm not insane because
I don't like to feel like they're smelling their own farts. So if someone is just like, I am conservative, like that's not as appealing as a guy who's like, you know, I tell like it is.
Yeah. I hate to like bash on him like twice in the same.
We try to do that here. Is
Are we trying to get on Tim's show? Because we can reverse this. We can cut this out. We can do some.
I know a few people who are on his show. So, but
again, I haven't seen the show. Tim, put me on. Let's do it.
What would you talk to Tim about?
I don't know, because they would think it'd be boring to like expose him.
I think you could have a really interesting conversation. I've watched him.
Is that all you want to do, or is there something more?
I don't watch him, so I don't want to like accuse him of being uninteresting to me. But
did you watch him a few years back when he was a little different?
No, I haven't. Tell me.
So I've watched it. Okay, so I think you guys would actually have a lot to talk about. I've watched him off and on, I think since I ran into him in 2018 in Portland at this big
COVID changed him.
Big event. I don't know if that's what it was, but he has basically he's pulled what you would call the oh my God, Bill Maher. He's sort of pulled a Bill Maher. He used to be very left of center.
Like, I would probably agree with that. He was probably more vocal about a few issues. Yeah, I would probably. Yeah,
and I would hate watching.
Right. Yeah.
He was just on the edge, and then he would just not go over, and he would deny that sort of there's anything to the right's view on things. It was almost like he wanted to be unbiased, but he wasn't. He was more, I guess, left political, and that's not a lie. That was really how he was.
I think you're right.
He is a person who hasn't been left behind by the progression of the left. He's a person who's gone to the right.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
I think you could still have like a lot to talk to him about because that's.
Oh yeah. I don't have to talk to you guys about. Again, it was like nailing everyone on the spectrum does get it.
I'd like to see you challenge him from the left though.
Yeah.
You know, like come on, Tim.
Then I gotta. One thing I do want, and I don't know if I'm the right person for it, because again, I'm trying to like make people laugh. So I don't know if like me debating like a bunch of people is really useful. Maybe it is, but I do wish more people on the left would debate, and I wish that like we had better representatives to debate for us. I mean, I don't really think there's that many great conservative ones either, but I do think that conservatives have built up a few very loud platforms that would be worthwhile to have a few more lefties that were that good at talking to a large group of people.
Hey, we really need Destiny to get on Breaking Points. That would be really cool.
Listen, that might happen at some point or another. Who knows?
Have you ever talked to like Saagar or Krystal about like their thoughts on these on people like Hassan or like
I mean it's like, you know, we are in like super, it's not like we're like on CNN and these are like kids are on Twitch. We're like on YouTube. That's like next door neighbors to things like Twitch and other stream platforms. So yeah, it's natural for us to be like aware of them. To be honest with you, because the show is independent, because we don't have any other writers, you asked if we had other conservatives on the show. It is us four making the show every fucking day. I contract out people to run the studio, and then you know, we have an editor, and that's it. You know, so there's a lot of work to be done. Krystal has like fucking 9,000 kids. And
what happens if you get like sick or something?
It's go time.
It's go time. You pop the cold medicine and you keep going.
No one's allowed to be sick.
It's usually someone's alive. But yeah, I think I was bringing that up for a reason. What were we talking about?
We're talking about like what Krystal and Saagar think about like the next door neighbors of.
Oh
of
yeah,
Choom.
the next door neighbors, right? Yeah. So we're Oh, my reason for bringing all that up, how busy they are, is like we don't have time to watch fucking Twitch streams, really. Like we might see a clip pop up on Twitter or something, but yeah, like I used to watch live streams like during the pandemic when I was unemployed, but yeah, I don't have time anymore for that. I usually watch YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely a different vibe though. Like we are way more researched than your average Twitch stream. That's not accusing any individual. It's almost impossible to be well researched when you're just live reacting for like 12 hours a day. But like we do a lot more research than your live streams.
Griffin, how much of your research is reaching out to people who are, it's like insiders and can give you a background?
So usually when it's an insider, usually we like to have them on the show.
Okay.
So usually they're a guest that comes on the show to help us inform us just live that way. And then, like there's been a few times recently where we've had to do some conversations. There was obviously that Discord leaker who leaked all those documents from that like Discord to like impress his like fucking 12-year-old friends in Fortnite. We were talking to the Department of Defense about handling those documents and stuff like that. So there's situations like that where we're dealing with stuff. I think that Krystal and Saagar independently do a lot of research that even I don't, and then they come in with these like fully written monologues. No one else is writing the monologues for them, so they're doing all that on their own. And I'm like, looks good, spell check, let's roll. So they're workhorses, man. And that's how you get to be where they are now, is like I think they I deliver a real value. I found that to be super valuable when I've been watching them since their early days on the Hill with Rising, and I was especially found it valuable. You said you hate watched earlier, and I exclusively hate watch things because I really do know, I know what my side thinks, and I kind of get what they're gonna say on most things. It's fun to see crazy people or dumb people like get it wrong in a crazy way. That's always more fun. Like I was just about to bring up a podcast, but
no, you can mention it, it's fine.
There's a few podcasts right now that are very big that I'm like hate watching. I think most people are, but they're very popular. It's a show with like 18 people on microphones. Like I love when there's like 18 motherfuckers in a room. They all have a mic.
I can't do it very long. It gets too much.
I watch that kind of stuff. And but I don't really hate watch Saagar. I feel like Saagar provides a really valuable insight to me. Saagar really called what was going to happen to Bernie Sanders in the primary. I was all in on Bernie since 2015. I mean, his rallies really changed my life and the way I thought about the world and like made me get politically active. I had, for Bernie's second go at it, I definitely had my blinders on, and it was refreshing to hear Saagar's takes on what Bernie was doing wrong, and what Bernie's chances really were in certain areas. And that stuff was really informative to me and really valuable. So yeah, there's always been like an intrinsic value to the show. And I don't think it's a comical left-right spectrum in the way that I think that, what was that Hannity and Combs show from a long time ago called? Crossfire?
Yeah.
Hannity and Combs.
Yeah, Hannity and Combs. I think that was a lot more comical compared to this, which I think is for me, I think it has a lot more value. And I think that we're, sorry to rant, but I do think that we're one of the only people online doing like daily breakdowns of news coverage and not culture war. Like it would be so easy for me to just print thumbnails of Dylan Mulvaney, like, and just like watch the views pile up, or, on the opposite, like we could, we could be calling Trump, a fascist, we could be doing all sorts of like easy ways to like juice and be more sensational to fight the culture war issues, but we don't really touch a lot of those. this. Like,
I
we're
mean,
talking
I
about
feel like you'd be alienating your core audience because
yeah.
I feel like your core audience is like people who like largely probably dropped like cable news networks a long time ago, but still want to stay informed. But like, cause like the type of person that, started watching Rising, like I knew this like family that, this guy that I grew up with like my whole life. And he was really into Rising, and
Oh,
he
cool.
was into it too because I was working at the Hill at the time.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like sort of this duality. He could read my articles, watch the show,
Yeah.
but he definitely knew that there was something special about the dynamic between them. And he was like, you're in a really good spot right now because there's something about Saagar and Krystal's dynamic that is just like, hate to use the word magic, but it's like they really go off of each other. And I think that largely people are just like looking for something to like watch in the mornings without like getting MSNBC commentary or Fox commentary, and I feel like if you did the Dylan Mulvaney stuff, if you got into that, like you could maybe risk losing followers because like people subscribe to you guys because they don't really want any of that.
That's a good point. They can get it other places, but yeah, it's just we're also just not interested in it. We'd rather talk about the federal interest rate and the Ukraine counteroffensive, and it's like those videos probably only get us like 30 to 40K views, but I think we find that more valuable long term. So I think there's still certain things in culture that we talk about and things that we want to talk about, but we're very cognizant of really trying to be that place that you can come to for daily breakdowns of news coverage. And I think that's one of the things I'm most proud of.
So when you get the 30 to 40K views on certain topics, do you think that's your ride or die audience out there that's still tuning in for that stuff?
It's so hard to say because there's, and then I look in the mirror every day and I ask myself, why did things happen the way they happen? We're a very unusual show because we divide all of our content up into parts rather than release it as like one long form video. And we experiment with putting it out at different times. There's always certain questions like, oh, could we have released this one earlier? Could the thumbnail have been better? Could the title have been better? There's reasons you blame it on that. But then there's certain videos that aren't going to be as hot. Talking about the Fed doing an interest rate pause, is really valuable, but is it going to be the clickiest YouTube thumbnail? No.
Super sexy.
So, you take a risk on that one. And you know what? There's sexy thumbnails that also aren't worth any fucking money, like our Epstein coverage, which constantly gets demonetized no matter how many views it gets.
Wow.
And so, when we're talking about like today, I bet it's probably our worst fucking video performing today. We're talking about how, there's an internal JP Morgan memo that's released.
The Jamie Dimon one.
Yeah. But it goes into like all these conversations with other foreign contacts, and then, talking, basically arranging these, meetings with little girls and using like Disney princess code names. And, like, this is like the fucking guys who work at Chase. And like, for some reason we're getting demonetized a lot of times on those, or those videos just aren't getting out a lot of traction. But, I think a lot of people might be interested in those.
Oh yeah. There's a huge audience for that stuff.
But yeah, so there's algorithm stuff like that,
It's not left or right. That's the thing.
Right.
It does bring people together, that interest.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, everyone because it's easy. It's like, that's so evil. And I think it's like, that's so easy for everyone to agree on, for sure. It is funny though, that now that pedophile has just become like the base insult that everyone uses on each other, that like it's like the fucking, what is it? The Incredibles meme. Like,
yeah, I mean,
pedophile, so no one is like, I don't know. It's just like, I feel like that's where we're at with the word. We need a new word.
Yeah, well, I feel like the final boss of like inclusion is like that guy that like gives like the TED talk about how we should like sympathize with pedophiles. Like that guy is like, like, oh, like, like you can't shade them for the way they feel. Or,
I think yeah, you're right. I think we should center their voices a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that issue in of itself was like, it has nothing to do with January 6th, but like the aggression and like righteous aggression, I think, from like, whether you're left or right. For some reason there was like a huge like righteous aggression against like world pedophiles on the right, and like a lot of the people who were at January 6th were like people who were like, believers in like that,
Sure.
that like cabal and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's interesting to see that like translating sort of like in real time, even though it's not like the fantastical where we go one, we go all, Trump's gonna eradicate all the baddies kind of thing, that like those people might believe in. It's interesting to like, and Saagar and Krystal have been doing a great job keeping up with like the Epstein narrative from like the moment, obviously right before, he was gonna face justice, like he
you can say judgment.
Judgment.
Yeah, like we know going into it that we're going to cover certain stories not for the money, and I could tell you the top 5 stories tomorrow we could cover for the money or for the clicks or whatever, but yeah, and sometimes we're doing it for the for the clicks in terms of like how do we find the right picture and the right title to really like bring people in, but that's what you have to do on YouTube just to survive and to get people into the content, but yeah.
So I want to know more about I think this is a good place to kind of start the last 15 minutes, because I want to know more a little bit about your views on China. I know that it has like this, sort of grander overarching theme to like what you're doing on the Choom Room cast, as you mentioned earlier. So I just kind of want to know, like, where does all that come from? Like, why China is just personal project?
Okay, I'll reveal it here, and then people can be like, "Whoa, he revealed it on Meme Ranch years ago."
No one will watch this. They won't even see this part.
But
we're gonna get the early version of like what's gonna come later. So let's do it.
I mean, very interested in modern China, what they're up to. They seem to be the rising star, and they seem to be, it's always fun. It's always fun to see a winner. Always, but in Choom Room, I think they're, it's slowly revealed that Bully Fighters, which is they own and they own the show. They're owned by China. It's run by China. It's
right. I'm your bully to beat up your bully.
I looked up that website 2 times last night. I was trying to go to Bully Fighters, and I was like, God damn it, he got the fake ad on me.
But yeah, well, I think Bully Fighters is a service that a lot of people would use if it was real. But yeah, ultimately, I'm China owns Bully Fighters, and so China has its own reasons for starting a tell it like it is news company in America. Is the lore. In general, China's just I don't know all the fucking history of every single year of China. I'm interested in what they're doing right now. That's about it. Is there a China take from you, Kalen?
Is there a Chinese take from me?
Yeah. You brought it up.
China number 2.
China number 2. We're number 1, Argentina? What?
Yes, actually, no, Uruguay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But US number 1?
No, Uruguay number 1.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So I was just curious because I didn't know if like you had like any sort of like particular like interest in like China studies, or if it just seems like the natural trajectory is kind of like China is going to become like the next leading superpower, and like everyone is kind of in denial because we're kind of just like
it's part of
it's like a meteor that's like hurling towards us, but we're not even paying attention to it.
It thins the American ego, and it's part of, I think, the America's existential I feel like being American is very existential right now. No one's excited for 2024. Yeah, nice.
I really am. This is like I've lived a long time now, and this is the most exciting time I've ever seen. This is the most exciting time. This is more exciting than anything I ever heard about.
Tell me why.
Because it's not just the political aspect of 2024. It's the technological aspect.
Right.
It's the world is changing aspect.
Yeah.
It's communications that we have here that we're using. It's all of it. And it's just so energetic to just think about all these possibilities. But then you do add in the fact that Trump's being prosecuted and may go to jail, and
that's fun,
and may be a felon when after he's elected, and may pardon himself. I mean, that's bizarre. It's bizarre to me that Trump was even ever president. All all this is just it's like a weird dystopia I grew up maybe when reading or like watching on TV, and it's here and it's real. And that's why 2024 is amazing to me. It's just unreal. It's literally unreal.
But unreal, like you're watching like a train wreck, or like, because you also
No,
said there were possibilities.
Living the train wreck.
Okay, yeah, right, sure.
Yeah,
So
I
you're
mean,
not hopeful at all. You dread it like everyone else.
No, I am hopeful.
Okay.
I am hopeful because people get stuck in this mindset that they're the first people to ever be in a bad jam, and that's never the case. This is all like people have lived through much worse, and I just think that we forget that, and of course this is going to be difficult. But the people who come after us won't think much about it. They'll just think it's a bunch of crazy stories. Like that's their history. Does that make sense?
No, man. This is my year.
They won't really feel the existentialism that you're talking about. It'll just be like a story.
Interesting. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's an interesting take I haven't heard before. I definitely get the sense that Americans have a hole they're trying to fill. And people do it in a lot of different ways. But yeah, I just think that, I feel like with Trump being back, the second high is just never as good as the first. So I just doesn't feel like it's going to be as exciting as the last time he ran. I just feel like it's.
I feel like he's gonna keep running till he dies. If he loses, like I've thought about that. Like
if he wins, he's gonna keep running.
But you guys agree though, right? Like it just doesn't hit as hard, right? And I think that actually might be a problem for Democrats because he's not as scary to them anymore.
I don't agree because look at what's happened since he's been out. It's been the wildest ride. He got raided by the FBI.
I'm really gonna feel like I got 4 years stolen from me, like if he gets elected again, because I'll just look back on it and be like, why the hell did we cover the legal problems beat by beat by beat by beat, and then it's just like boom, he's back in, none of it matters. Like it's gonna feel really. It's gonna be both like I'm gonna be like, wow, yeah, we just witnessed a whole Biden administration, but then again, it's like I kind of don't have a lot of confidence that Trump can win again. Like, I mean, I say that because I like to keep a little bit of mystery surrounding it and stuff like that. But like what I feel more confident about is that I'm not going to see Trump in an orange jumpsuit. Like he may not win again, but I feel like we never get
the fun stuff. It's always like, man, we didn't put it on. It was too small or something.
Yeah. I just feel like that is like something that AI is only going to be able to sort of give to me, because like I don't know, like I just the thought of it doesn't make sense even for me, like a situation where Biden doesn't try to give some sort of pardon, forgiveness, because I feel like it's something that is probably going to be a bigger threat to democracy than January 6th ever was. Not because it may be entirely just to like put him in prison, but if he ends up doing it, it's just gonna cause like so much like cognitive dissonance in like the minds of like what people consider just in this country, that it's going to be like weird. Like
I know it'd be like this is unprecedented, and it's also so funny. Like
right.
I get to tweet from there. He gets to do everything from the cell. This isn't like fucking lights out at 8. Like he's got like a remote and he's flipping through and he's like shitting on news anchors from the cell. Like complaining about like the cell guards or something. Like,
did you, Griffin? Did you and Caitlin? Did you guys? This was hilarious. The Brett Baer interview last night with Trump, and Baer was listing all the names he'd called people.
Oh yeah, we did that on Breaking Points.
Oh my god, I was laughing out loud.
Everyone that he's shit on over back to back. And I mean, what we were talking about on set was how did he let him go through it all and not interrupt him? Like Trump, like so unlike Trump.
That's so much than so much stand-up out there. Just I mean, obviously it was compiled and not performed, but that was pure comedy gold.
I think Baer should do a tight 5. I think Baer should get up there more. Yeah. Maybe Baer goes on Kill Tony or something.
Flash round.
Okay.
Thoughts on Adam Friedland's new show? Is that how's that taken off?
Oh, the Adam Friedland show. I watched the Chris Cuomo interview. That was
That's the
pretty
one.
funny. Yeah, that one seems to be doing really well for them. I've always liked Come Town, and yeah, I'm interested to see what they do with the show. I wish I had their Patreon money so that I could quit Breaking Points.
Hey man, if we ever hook up with them, we'll get you guys connected.
Oh wow, thank you. But yeah, they're funny.
What do you think? I mean, like, is Come Town becoming like, you know, like an actual like tabloid news, like I'm not saying like, you know, I'm saying the evolution of Come Town, like is that starting to influence tabloid articles? Because I saw some things about it, like with like the whole Maddie Healy, Taylor Swift. I mean, Stabby is like selling out like comedy shows, like, you know, I still don't think the three of them are as funny, maybe aside from Nick Mullen. Like I feel like the three of them aren't as funny as they were when they were on that show, but it still feels like the general population is like warming up to them, and it's like there's something happening there. I don't even know if most people understand that they came from Come Town. That's another weird thing I don't quite get.
It's probably why they changed the name.
Yeah. Well, they just canceled the show. I mean, like they didn't even change it. It's just like not even there anymore.
What do you guys like? That's what you like. Come Down. What else you like?
Comedy wise,
Yeah.
God,
Like-
I'm kind of picky. I like things that you don't necessarily know are comedy.
Okay.
I like
sure.
I like Kill Tony. You mentioned that earlier. I like
Okay.
that.
Yeah. I like I'm more sketch. I'm not super into stand-up. I think there's like a few funny stand-ups out there. But I like sketch comedy primarily. Yeah.
I like sketch too, and I like what you guys are doing out there.
Oh, thanks.
I really do like. I think sketch gets into that territory very well, where you're not sure what you're watching, and you're not sure how to feel about it, but you know it's funny. You know, I just like that experience.
Yeah. It's more niche than stand-up though, but but I've done a lot of live sketch, a lot of sketch over the years. Did you guys ever watch Whitest Kids You Know?
Yes, love Whitest Kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
People like that. And I feel like sketch is kind of like what other comics really respect, is really good sketch. But
Is Trevor Moore one of your icons? Yeah.
I love Trevor. I do know the Whitest Kids from doing sketch, because when I was in LA, Sam Brown was my director. He's one of the Whitest Kids. He would direct my monthly show, my sketch show with my sketch troupe or whatever. And through that met, you know, Zach, Trevor, everybody, because they would do shows too in LA. So I actually got, during the pandemic, I set the Whitest Kids up with their Twitch stream because they were too big of boomers.
Nice.
But yeah, great guys. So yeah, Trevor is one of the funniest people that's ever lived.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite cool.
R.I.P.
I had a question real quick about your guys' show. I couldn't tell. Are you guys scripting this? Or are you scripting part of it, or is it improv? Or I feel like it's both, but I'm not sure. Or you just reorganize things and edit.
It's mainly improv, but I really come in with the best bits are because when I come in with like the arc of how a scene might go. So I tell them, this is kind of how you come on. This is kind of our relationship, and I have a feeling it's gonna end like this. But then sometimes I don't even know that. But like me and Max are trying to get better about finding that relationship. Max having more segments. Max plays Gavin Newsom in the new episode, and he does a segment on the top 5 ways that Joe Biden could die because he wants to be president. And so we're working on
that was good. That was good dark humor. Yeah.
We're working on doing more segments like that. Stuff like that's more written out. And then the new rule, like my parody of that, I guess the Bill Maher new rule shit. That's all written out. That's
I haven't seen that. That sounds good.
Yeah, I have I don't know how to use YouTube really. I feel like I should like maybe split it up if people aren't seeing all the segments in the episodes, but I don't know. The YouTube channel is really young, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I think once people find the content and start going through it, they'll probably find all that stuff.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of young, we're running out of time here. It's been great having you on, Griffin. But we just want to ask you, speaking of young and speaking of Gavin, how does this image make you feel right now? How are you feeling at the moment?
I was horny before, but now I'm too horny.
That is that I someone flashed that to me the other day, and I was just like, holy shit, that is Kimberly Guilfoyle. I forgot that they were.
I think they were a power couple. I love Gavin because Gavin's like the central casting for like a corrupt mayor on a TV show. Like he looks like the guy that's gonna like bulldoze the school, you know? Like he's just like, hey, yeah, I'm slick. Yeah, like I just love how comical he is. He's larger than life, total slime ball. And wait, what was your question?
Oh yeah, I was just asking how it makes you feel.
Out of the photo.
Yeah.
Oh, the photo. I love the rug stuff. I think if he wants to be the next president, I think he's got to roll that rug back out again. I think he's got to bring back the rug.
I do too. I really, I would love just like a complete sideline by Gavin, just like entering the field. Like, I mean, I know that there's been this whole like, you know, like war between him and DeSantis lately. That would really make 2024 interesting to me though, if Gavin got involved. Because I mean, I feel like RFK is almost beckoning him a little bit, because it's like he's got RFK's got so much support.
The water's warm. Yeah. almost did the RFK impression. Didn't caught myself.
We'll get you to do it someday.
You think they could run together?
I think they should run together through a field of flowers, holding hands. Yeah. And then there's a cliff at the end. You know, I don't know what's up with the RFK thing. Like, I feel like RFK gives off like a pheromone that like guys that are like 55 are attracted to. It's like they're like I don't know. There's something about him. He gives off this aura that people are into. I don't even know if people are listening to what he's saying. They're just like, I like this guy, man. Like, you gotta agree, right? Outside of all the politics of it, right? He's giving off a vibe for people.
Mm-hmm.
He's like your grandfather's cologne when you smell it when you're like 3 or 5 years old, and you're just like, oh, what does that smell?
It's like a leather jacket on the closet hanger. Yeah.
I think for some people it's a bit of nostalgia.
Yes, that's what it is. Yes, you're so right. That's, I think, yes.
Yeah. Nostalgia's the name of the game.
Or again, like in a MAGA sense, like remembering an older America when things made a little bit more sense.
And maybe he's MAGA for the left, MAGA for the Dems.
I mean, well, I think everyone agrees that like if Biden were to like have some health issue or die, that everything would get pretty like it would get pretty crazy pretty quick. Because a lot of people would have to slap something together, and that would be really funny. Because it would be like people doing like campaigns that they haven't planned out that well. Because it's like, oh shit, now I'm gonna run you know, like that's extra funny to me. I think that's the funniest possible.
I want to do one request, and I should have brought my sculpture with me, but next time you guys do a food artist, make him carry a cucumber with him.
Yeah, and yeah, a phallic, because it's phallic.
Well, I actually have a sculpture that's a cucumber.
Well, then maybe you could bring that on the show sometime.
Well, I should have brought it tonight.
Show and tell.
That food critic, whatever he was, that's Vinny Thomas. Very, very funny. You can check him right now on Seth Rogen's new TV show Platonic. He's a character on there. So yeah,
fantastic hair. He had fantastic hair.
He's got great hair. Yeah, great hair. Yeah. So yeah, we've only have 3 episodes out right now. There's 2 more in the can that I'm working on when I'm not working at Breaking Points. And yeah, we just hope to get a more consistent output and keep them rolling.
Yeah. Well,
anything you want to plug before we jump off here? Anything else?
Just Choom Room, Choom Room on YouTube. You can do it all one word if you want. CHOOM Room. Also, Griffin P. Davis on all their social platforms. I have all my old sketches are on just my Griffin Patrick Davis YouTube channel. But check out Choom Room. Give us a like. Give us a sub. You can say you were on the ground floor of something really terrible.
Can we do like a chant, like for like the outro? You know, like a Choom Room, Choom Room, Choom
Sure.
Room.
It's,
Choom
yeah, you
room,
guys
choom
do it. Yeah.
Choom Room.
And I'll
Choom
slowly